Justin Palmer.
Yeah.
I am so excited to see you guys. I've seen this movie. I can't get enough of it. What was your impetus to even make this film? How did you even find out about these people and this story?
Well, you know, we both fish, and I was lucky enough. I grew up with a dad who was a real serious fisherman, and a tight group of guys that fished a lot. And so as a young kid, I heard stories about the coast. I heard stories about a guy named Bill Shad. And then as I got older, I was given the book The Angler's Coast by Russell Chatham, and who, you know, also talked about Bill Shad in the early years of the coast. And then from there, you saw how unique of a culture it was. When Palmer jumped on board and said we're going to do it, then, you know, we started making this list of doing it, of, you know, who we were going to contact, and that was a really difficult part, was getting into the group and getting them to trust us. That was the biggest challenge in making the film, was kind of cracking that group and then getting in and having them open up to us.
How long was it between the time you thought, we want to make this movie, and the time you finished it?
About 4 years, I think. Close to 4 years, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was 4 years, and that was pretty much all we did for 4 years. I mean, we had to get some money. We saved up some money beforehand doing other stuff, and then you know, we lived as cheaply as we could, and we would do some odd web design and video work just to help us get a little money. But pretty much that was 4 years of pretty much every day.
So when I watch this film, I see different layers. I see stories about people, about fish, about rivers, about loss. Did you imagine that all when you began? Am I crazy? Did you see it all, or did it evolve?
You don't really have that going into it, because you really don't have any idea how it's going to turn out. But I think a large part of that is kind of like a reflection on how much the people we interviewed were able to open up on camera, and that's one thing that people really see, is like, wow, how did you get these fishermen to open up so much to you guys? And, you know, that's a little bit what Justin was talking about, you know, getting in with them and getting to know them before we started talking with them. But it's really I feel a reflection of them and what they're able to express through their stories. And, you know, it always depends on how much you want to look into the film. I think, you know, there are a lot of levels, like you say, and the more you look into it, or, you know, the different pieces you want to look at, I think there's multiple stories there.
And I think, to go along with what you're saying, the Felt Soul Media guys, Travis and Ben, I think working with someone else on an equal basis, where no one's really the boss, really helps, because I was really fascinated with the fly fishing history of it. You know, and Palmer was always fighting with me to make it more universal and looking more at the human interest stories. And if I would have made it on myself, it would have been bad.
How did you get Tom Skerritt to narrate this? I mean, he's like a famous guy.
We got his email, and somebody recommended the film. Lonnie Waller saw an early cut, and he called him. He knows him, and so he called him up and he said, "Hey, there's this film, and I know you get bothered by stuff all the time, but I would really like you to take a look at it." And to Tom's credit, he said, "Yeah, I'll take a look at it." And then we sent him up a copy, and what was it? He wanted us to
cut 20 minutes out of it.
Yeah.
He wanted us to cut 20 minutes out of it. You know, he's like, then maybe I'll do it. And so we said, all right, I think that's worth it. We'll cut 20 minutes out of it. And then, you know, he just took an interest in it. And the next thing we knew, we were up there. And then we kind of thought he was just doing us a favor. Like, you know, here's some guys, and, you know, they're doing a fishing film, and I'll do him a favor. But when we got up there, he's like, wow, you know, the human stories in this, like, you can't write stuff like this. The stories that these guys are telling and the way they express themselves is just so unique. Like, and he was really just blown away by it. And we were blown away by that, because we honestly thought he was doing a favor for Lonnie at first. You know, we're like, well, he's doing a favor for Lonnie. And get up there, and for the first hour, we're sitting in the studio. He's talking about Tooch Colombo and Russ Chatham and Gino Franceschi, and he's just like, I love these characters, I love these guys. You know, we're kind of sitting there like just huge grins on our face. You know, we're like, he actually likes the movie, you know. And
Yeah, and to his credit, he did it for the legal, he's part of SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, and you have to go through a process to work with him. And he did it for the legal minimum that he could, and he got us a deal on the studio fee. I mean, he did it as a favor, really. And so...
And then he donated everything.
Yeah, and then everything that we paid him, he donated to a film school that he's a part of. So, I mean, the guy's an amazing guy. We showed it in Seattle when he came, and he gave a speech about the film. I mean, we can't say enough good things about what he's done for this film and for us. I mean, really, really, really nice guy.
So the movie's great, the stories are great, the music. Palmer, you did the music. I love it. Tell us about how you came to create this music.
But we sat down together and we chose other pieces of music that we thought kind of fit along with the emotions we were trying to convey through the film. And so I kind of used other songs in other films that we thought were similar to ours to kind of guide me through the process. And looking back on it, I'm like, I don't remember writing a lot of it. I was like, where did that come from? Like, if I were to do that, I couldn't do that again. Like, so it's a weird process. Some days you're sitting there and you're just like, nothing's coming out, but other days it just, you get a full chunk of the movie done, and that was by far the best part of the film for me, was making the music and being close as far as editing. Like I was telling you before, that it was really helpful because I was able to, I really knew intimately what we were trying to show through the film, and so that helped out a ton with the music.
So this movie is set in California. You're not limiting yourself to showing it in California. In my mind, it ain't just about California. It ain't just about fly fishing. How have you been received so far out of state?
Unfortunately, California, we're kind of the mold of what not to do, and that's an unfortunate thing to say, but that's the truth in a lot of ways. I mean, we didn't protect our fish like we should have. We've never put the emphasis on steelhead and salmon that Oregon and Washington have, and so I think people that are working to protect fish, to restore fisheries in Oregon and Washington, they look at our film and they say, you need to see this. We don't want to happen here what happened down there. And that's actually a hard thing for people in California to swallow. And they get really upset. They say, your film paints a pretty grim picture. And, what our answer to that is, we interviewed a group of guys that saw it from the beginning, basically to now, and we reflected their opinions and their attitudes. We weren't going to paint a pretty picture at the end because that wasn't their opinion, and so I think it's actually, the film is, could be considered to be better received up here, because they see it as an example of what not to do, and so that's important to us. That means a lot to us, and we hope that it's seen that it's seen widely in all the areas that still have good fish runs, where they're constantly fighting to protect your fish. Was what we tried to do, was to show the community, let this community of fishermen tell you what it's like to lose their soul, to lose their fish.
So I'm already taking this movie and telling people, you have to see this. This is a lesson about what could happen here if we're not careful. So in the meantime, you guys are out, you're promoting the film, you've got this wonderful project. Have you got something in the back of your mind? I mean, you haven't really wrapped this one up. Have you got another project in mind when this winds down?
We always talk about the next project being getting this one out there. And in this film, I mean, Justin and I basically did the whole thing, and that's kind of why it took 4 years. And it's just a ton of work. And getting the film out there, getting people to see it is just a ton of work too. And
it's equal. It's as much work.
It's just like another phase of the project. So if we were to start another project now, it would be very difficult to do. This is just a ton of work in itself.
I mean, from a career standpoint, that's the right thing to do, is to start on your next project. But like he said, to get it to actually really get it out there, not just get it in fishing stores, but to get it out there, to really get it out there. You got to put in a massive amount of work.
This is awesome. I'm excited to meet you guys. Thank you so much for doing this. And if TU and the Wild Salmon Center can help you, you let us know.
Okay. Indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.